Welcome to the tutorial for the handing off effect. Today we're going to talk about some important points to bear in mind when creating the effect. First, let's take a look at the video. Okay, here it is. That's my friend Ram, and he gives a book to himself. And that's me walking.
What's up, man?
As you can see, I walk in front of both of the Rams. And I'm gonna sit down. Ram doesn't like it.
What's that? Best book I've ever read. Looks like crap.
Just a little story I set up with a small dialogue and a person who likes a book a lot and wants to share it with himself and me. I take a look at the book and I don't like it either. And then it gets thrown along the front of the other Ram. Okay, there are certain points I want to talk about. The first thing is, Ram is not a twin. I had some comments on the last video, but it just isn't true. It would be nice. You just put a twin in front of the camera, you've got a nice cloning video. No. You will see Ram is not a twin. Oh nee, dat kan niet.
What's up,
To
man?
do the cloning, you have to film the people individually and then put together. It's really important that you don't move the camera, otherwise the effect will not work. It will look like this. So take your tripod and film it like that. Maybe you noticed that the camera was shaking in our video. But we added the camera shake in our editing program, but we filmed it on a tripod. You can put the footage together by cutting lines around the middle of the screen like this. Here you can easily see the sharp line between the two layers. To fix that, feather it a bit or play with the composure. Make sure the light on set changes as little as possible. Otherwise you will see the line between the two clips. So make sure there are no clouds in the sky when you are filming outside, because clouds can change the light easily. The best way to do it would be in a studio, but we don't have one, so that's a shame. But we filmed on a cloudless day, otherwise we would have filmed inside. But even though you play with composure settings, the light is always changing. There's almost nothing to do about it. But what I like to do to hide that is to decrease the movement of the mask. The more the mask moves, the more you notice the light changing. So keep an eye on the amount of keyframes you use and try to keep the keyframes as few as possible. Also make sure that you don't overlap the place where the clone will be. Otherwise you have to rotoscope the whole thing and that's really time consuming. And it will not work. We filmed the two Rams separately and Sierk with one of the Rams. We put Sierk in it because we wanted someone in the video who can interact with both of the Rams. We set up two names for the Rams, so we couldn't confuse them. We filmed Ram A and Sierk together and Ram B after that. We tried to let Sierk interact with Ram A as much as with Ram B, so that's not immediately clear who Sierk is interacting with for real. So you don't know what we filmed together and what not. And that's why we could let Sierk throw a book to Ram A. But now it looks very complicated, but in fact it's really easy to do. Crap. We did the throwing in the end. It's stronger in the end because of the things before. If you did the throwing at the beginning, you would immediately know which Ram had been recorded at the same time as me. And the rest wouldn't be exciting anymore. But now you don't know which Ram had been recorded at the same time as me, until the end. What's also really important by creating this effect is to time everything really well. If you don't time it on set, some things will perhaps not take place in the same order when you're editing. As an example, the small dialogue. Ram B has to say what's up exactly at the right time, because Sierk may answer before Ram B said what's up. Nothing.
What's up, man?
Because we did not film Sierk and Ram B at the same time. Notice that Ram B looks up to Sierk at this point. That you have to know where Sierk will be before you let him do that.
What's up, man?
Nothing. This is how we did that. We wrote down all the actions of the people and the accurate time at which the actor acts. We counted in our heads while acting, so everything happens at the right time. Don't worry if you won't succeed perfectly. It's really difficult to act and count at the same time. And maybe you can let someone else count for you. Be creative. And anyway, you can always speed up or slow down something in your editing program. Take a look at the handing over of the book. It's impossible to time it that well by acting. In your editing program you will have to slow down an unimportant fragment before the handing over to get the timing right. For example, when you just stare at one moment in the distance for a while, that's a good part to slow down. If you do that subtly, no one will notice it at all. So now we've cloned someone by combining two different clips. But how do you make the clones interact if they can't overlap each other? You might think a good solution would be to get someone to take the book from RAM A in the first clip and have someone give RAM B the book in the second clip. But this isn't the best way. As you can see, we put a pile of cans on the ground in between the characters. Why did we do this? I will explain why by showing you the raw footage. Here you see the footage with RAM A. In this clip, RAM places the book on top of the pile of cans. Here you see the footage with RAM B. In this clip, RAM takes the book he put on the pile of cans in the first clip. As you can see, the book stays in exactly the same place, because we filmed clip A first and left the book where RAM A placed it. It's really important that the book stays in the same place, as you will see right now. Now I'm gonna show you how to combine the two clips, to make it look like RAM is handing the book to himself. Here you can see how we did this. You have to change the shape of the mask from the book in clip A to the book in clip B during the handing over. You see that you don't notice that the mask had moved, because the book didn't move. RAM's hands can't overlap the mask, so that's why you have to change the shape of the mask, to make sure RAM's hand doesn't get cut off. You might be wondering why the mask has to be this specific shape during the video. That's because otherwise the book can be seen in clip B before RAM A placed it there in clip A. Before the handing over of the book, the mask is hiding the book in clip B, and so the mask can only change shape while RAM is handing over the book, because the mask changes to reveal the same book in the same position. That's why you can't just have someone take the book from RAM A and someone who gives the book to RAM B, because the book will not be at exactly the same place twice. Then you will notice that the book changes to the other book during the handing over, because it's suddenly at a different spot. If this all is alright, you have to make sure that RAM A releases the book at exactly the same moment that RAM B takes the book. Otherwise the book will seem to hover in the air for a moment. Timing is really important in this effect. How did we get rid of the pile of cans? You just take a clean plate and mask the cans out. You place them above the other layers and you can't see them anymore. Just feather the mask a little bit and play with the composure settings and it will be alright. But if you overlap the cans, it will be difficult, because you have to mask out that area. It's that simple, but there's one thing that's really important. The handing over has to be smooth. The cans could be anything, as long as it just had the right height, it's stable, and not broader than the book. Otherwise it will be difficult to pick up the book. If it isn't smooth, the handing over will look strange and unnatural. So maybe practice putting the book on top of the cans for a few seconds before you actually film it. Oh yeah, use a book with a hard cover. Otherwise the book will bend in the shape of the cans and it will be difficult to mask out the cans. A hard cover is always better. The reason we used a paperback is because we needed identical books and we had only two with a paperback. We had to use two books because Sierk had to take the book from RAM B, but RAM B wasn't there at the moment we filmed Sierk. But Sierk had to take the book at that moment, so there had to be another book. because the other book was still at the cans on the right. Maybe it looks a little bit complicated, but don't worry if you don't get it. It's not important. It's only necessary to use 2 books in our case. We also did some nice little rotoscoping, like me passing the camera in front of both of the rams, and I throw the book across the other ram. We just masked them out and placed them in front of all the other layers. All such things make it look more real. It's so important that the video has some life, otherwise it's just the effect. That's boring. You will have to give your video some life.
Oh, hey.
I smell some weed.
Where?
Okay.
Where? Yeah?
If you know how you will hand the book over, you can think of a small story. In our case, we created the character Sierk. Sierk is a person who can interact with both of the rams. This makes the cloning effect more intense. And we let him walk in.
Hey.
So ram A and B could say hello or
What's up, man?
something.
Nothing.
And there has to be a reason why he's giving the book, and why ram B gives it to Sierk. So a few sentences are always nice to give more
that?
life to your
Best
footage.
book I've ever read.
Otherwise it's just a
Like crap.
video of a person who gives a book to himself. It's more fun to watch if your video has sort of a story in it, not just only the effect by itself. You will have to give your video life. Here are all the important points in order. Thanks for watching, I'm sierkkanis and see you next time.